11 years of marriage. 11 years of building a life together, of promises and plans, of believing that love was enough. And then, for years of silence in the bedroom, a silence that grew louder with each passing month, the husband, 38 years old, had always been the clingy type. He needed reassurance. He needed touch. He needed to feel wanted. His wife, 36, had once matched his energy. But somewhere along the way, she had become distant. The intimacy that once felt natural between them became forced, mechanical, and then simply non-existent. At first, he told himself it was temporary. A phase. Stress. Work. Life. They would get through it like they'd gotten through everything else. But 4 years is not a phase. He tried everything. He initiated therapy, both couples therapy and individual sessions. They went on date nights, holding hands across candlelit tables, trying to remember what it felt like to want each other. They had open, vulnerable conversations where he laid bare his pain and she listened with understanding eyes. He made compromises. He adjusted his expectations. He became the understanding partner, the patient one, the one willing to work through anything. Nothing changed. The intimacy didn't return. The spark remained extinguished. The bedroom stayed cold. Then came the therapy session that would break something open, something that had been cracking for years. His wife looked at him with a calm certainty and said words that would echo through the rest of their marriage. "I want sex completely off the table." Until further notice, the finality of it hung in the air between them. She needed time to reconnect emotionally, she explained. She needed space. She needed healing. But then she added something that cut deeper than anything else. "There's no guarantee I'll ever want it again." No guarantee. Those 3 words contained the entire future, a future where he might wait, might hope, might sacrifice, and it would all be for nothing. Because there was no timeline. No endpoint. No promise of restoration. The husband felt something shift inside him in that moment. Something ancient and primal. He had tried to be understanding. He had bitten his tongue. He had swallowed his own needs, telling himself that a marriage wasn't about sex, that he could be selfless, that love meant sacrifice. But hearing those words, hearing his wife calmly explain that an essential part of their connection might never return, something clicked into place with terrible clarity. His wife told him to go to therapy. To learn not to make her responsible for his needs. And in the harsh fluorescent light of that moment, he realized something important. She was right. She wasn't responsible for his needs. He was. Nobody else could fulfill him but himself, and that meant he also got to decide something else, whether he wanted to live like this. For days, he sat with that thought. He didn't rush to conclusions. He didn't react in anger or desperation. He simply sat with the question, is this the life I want? Is this marriage still serving me, or am I serving it? The answer came quietly, with the weight of certainty. He loved his wife. He truly did. But love, he realized, wasn't enough when it lived alongside indifference. Love wasn't enough when it meant a lifetime of rejection and longing. Love wasn't enough when it meant becoming a shell of himself, clingy, desperate, perpetually unsatisfied, so he told her. Calmly. Not as a threat. Not as a manipulation tactic. Not as a bargaining chip or an ultimatum. Simply as a truth that had become undeniable. I love you, but this marriage isn't the right fit for me anymore. The words hung between them like an execution. She froze. For a long moment, she was completely still. Then tears came. Angry tears. Confused tears. Tears that suggested she had never actually believed he would leave. That despite 4 years of rejection, despite telling him there was no guarantee of reconciliation, she had somehow assumed he would stay forever, grateful for crumbs, content with scraps, willing to slowly die inside for the sake of their marriage. She accused him of being selfish. She said he didn't care about her emotional journey. She said he was abandoning her because she wouldn't put out. She blamed his choice on his needs, his immaturity, his inability to understand what she was going through, but she never addressed the real issue. In 4 years of therapy and conversations, she had never once explored why she had lost interest. She had never taken responsibility for the marriage. She had simply decided that the problem was him wanting something, and the solution was him wanting nothing. She said he had blindsided her. But how long should he wait? 6 more months? A year? 5 years? Until retirement? She had literally said there was no guarantee she would ever want him again. What part of that wasn't blindsiding? What part of that gave him hope? Now she was calling their mutual friends. She was telling people that he was leaving her because she wouldn't have sex. She was rewriting the narrative as abandonment, as selfishness, as a man who valued his physical needs over their marriage. She was making herself the victim of his honesty, but the husband knew the truth. It wasn't about sex. It was about feeling desired. It was about being wanted. It was about not feeling like a burden in your own marriage. It was about the difference between a partnership and a transaction. It was about the slow death of feeling alive with someone who was supposed to make you feel alive. He couldn't stay in a marriage that felt like a friendship with taxes. He couldn't keep pretending that this was acceptable. He couldn't keep becoming smaller and smaller, dimming his own light so she wouldn't have to see his unhappiness. The marriage had died 4 years ago. He was simply acknowledging it now. So was he selfish for leaving? Was he wrong for choosing honesty over silent resentment? Was he the asshole for refusing to wither away in a marriage that had become a prison of rejection? Or was choosing himself, after years of choosing her comfort over his own survival, the most honest thing he had ever done? What do you think about this situation? When is it okay to leave a marriage over physical intimacy? Is he wrong for prioritizing his own needs, or is he right to acknowledge that love isn't always enough? Share your thoughts and feelings in the comments below.